Hello everyone, this is May Winston Devaraj. Today we are going to see an interesting topic, exhaust gas recirculation. Many people doesn't know much about this system particularly, either me for quite long time. Then I came to know about this particular brilliant system that help to reduce the carbon emission and nitrogen oxides and many pollutants that are produced by the internal combustion engine. So it will be very useful for the people just who are so much interested in car and automotives. Without any further delay, we will jump into the video or the main content. uh, Excuse for the background voices that are going to occur, that already occurred in my video. Basically, I'm staying in the hostel, so you all know how it sounds. So, in EGR, the definition of EGR goes like this: exhaust gas recirculation is a technology utilized in internal combustion engine to reduce the emission of nitrogen oxide. As I told in the previous slide itself, it is a main motive to reduce the nitrogen oxide. Why? Because it is the main pollutant, the reason for the global warming and the smog produced in many areas, especially in Indian climate. We can state the example as New Delhi, our capital city, because of the carbon emission as well as in this NOx. It total city itself seems like a ghost spooky town because of the white smoke that appear in the early morning of the traffic, that contributes for many accidents in that zone, that basically because of that nitrous oxides, basically kind of nitrogen monoxide and dioxide and trioxide. That's why the name mentioned like NOx, it exists and the atomic value, it can be one oxygen and one nitrogen, or it can be one nitrogen and two oxygen, and also with three oxygen also possible in the case of internal combustion engine. So the purpose of EGR in internal combustion engine, the primary purpose of EGR to lower the combustion temperature by diluting the air fuel mixture with the inert gas. And how it's done this by reducing the nitrogen oxide in that exhaust by recirculating or redirecting some of the exhaust gas again to the intake or the inlet valves. So the combustion peak temperature can be optimally controlled by this recirculation method, because recirculation means exhaust will definitely have some amount of heat, in case we can simply call it as it have some energy, so we can extract more or maximum amount of energy from the exhaust. And importance of EGR in modern emission control strategy, because now we have BS6 and phase 1 2, and it will continue further because of the UN sustainability goal. So due to the strict regulations, also EGR plays a vital role in a modern automotive industry. I think this image is a self-explanatory, so you can clearly see. Wait, I will show. So this is a combustion chamber, as you all know. So this is the place where the combustion will happen. So whenever the intake air comes inside by the inlet valve, so it will close after the combustion, the exhaust will open. And while exhaust gas is coming out of the combustion chamber, so you can clearly see a portion that diverting that into this particular EGR cooler and this EGR control unit, and again it is recirculating into the same combustion chamber. This is how EGR is working basically. So everything has its own history. So origin of this EGR technology is date back to mid of 20th century, not that much old component or most engineered component as like crankshaft in the industrial combustion engine. It's pretty new, and this employs to reduce the NOx. So people are concerning about global warming for quite very short span of time, around maybe 10 years or 15 years. So it is like a very relatively new component in this automotive industry. So there is no much big history that like in engines like faces and all that. It's very relatively new, so the history would be very limited in case of EGR. This is one major graph or pie chart I wish to you peoples to look in it. Like this is the NOx emission in California in 2019. So you can clearly see which is the major contributor for this NOx emission is basically the on-road motor vehicles that contributing around 43% of the total NOx emission. Other mobile sources and miscellaneous very few, and it's almost half of the NOx emission is by the traffic. Basically, what's inside the traffic is car and bike and everything. But most concerning is cars, where the EGR is employed to reduce the NOx. So in the previous slides, we can clearly see how EGR is working, but this is a theoretical or descriptive working principle of EGR. So I don't want to explain it fully. So you can pause the video and you can read it, and it's almost self-explanatory. So I just give a small uh, nutshell about these things. Like so, EGR operation is basically by recirculating the excess gas, but it should have some control over how much to recirculate it and how long it should open, or how much like flow of exhaust gas that should be recirculated into the combustion chamber. So integration of EGR with the engine air intake system is the main thing. So EGR system are integrated with the engine air intake system to ensure the precise control of exhaust flow and the optimum combustion efficiency is the main point to remember from this slide. You all are familiarized with these particular system because the turbocharger, I think many race enthusiasts can relate this how turbocharger is using by the exhaust gas. The turbocharger is nothing but the pump. It will rotate and it will try to take much amount of air from the atmosphere, and it will send to the combustion chamber to increase the combustion rate. The same the EGR valve here situated, it will recirculate the exhaust gas to the internal combustion chamber, and it's like exhaust gas, it will somewhat some kind of exhaust gas should be come out of the car. We can't entirely recirculate everything inside, and here the turbocharger is run by the same exhaust gas, so it's kind of reducing some power of engine due to this EGR valve, and it will share the efficiency or the power of turbocharger in certain ways, because you can really see it not uh, entire exhaust gas is going for the turbocharger. It is having some amount of portion is again going to the EGR valve in the combustion chamber. So it is a major concern about performance of the vehicle. So the components of the EGR system are listed here. Valve supposed to be there because to control the flow. So EGR valve, and the exhaust gas should be cool enough. So that is EGR cooler, and that should be a control circuit, that is EGR control solenoid. So the EGR control solenoid regulates the operation of, it operates the flow of the exhaust air to the engine. So here you can see that the engine computer, so it is the solenoid that control how much of air should be recirculated into the engine and how much to be went outside of the car by the exhaust manifold in the catalytic converter. So catalytic converter is also an important component to reduce the pollutants from getting out from engine to atmosphere. There are different types of EGR system, like high pressure EGR system and low pressure EGR system, and the combination of high pressure as well as low pressure EGR system. So it is basically by, we can clearly see the systematic diagram how it's are mentioned, like if it's the inlet in cooler, it comes uh, before this EGR cooler, it will termed as like low pressure EGR system, or else if EGR cooler comes first after the inlet cooler, it's named as like high pressure EGR system. End of the day, it's all about the benefit what it's giving. So basic main benefit is reduction of nitrogen oxide emission. That's the main motive we are employing this particular EGR system in our automobile, and improved fuel economy by recirculating the in combust gases. So it possesses some energy, so we can extract that energy from that exhaust gas to improve the fuel economy as well as and lower the combustion temperature. It will reduce the engine knocking and pre-ignition, like some cases is reduce the peak combustion temperature. Also it will improve the longevity or life of the components of the system that inside of engine. This slide is somewhat similar to the previous very beginning. We seen one slide. It tells the cool intake air and the exhaust hot air and how it's cooled by this EGR cooler, and in this EGR cooler, and as well as this is the solenoid controlled EGR valve, and it tried to resist the amount, it controls the amount of recirculated air to get inside this combustion chamber. So we have some concerns about this EGR. Everything have some limitations and challenges by increasing sugar accumulation because of the um, carbon deposits on the EGR. Well, because exhaust gas definitely will have carbon because the petrol is so long bonded hydrocarbon chain. So when it's combusted, the energy released by the bonds and the carbon is separated from that fuel and it deposited in EGR system and its control unit. That's a greater concern about the life of the EGR system, and reducing engine power, as I suggest. It reduces the performance due to reducing the oxygen availability for combustion or increased pumping loss associated with recirculating exhaust gas, because exhaust gas will have some limited amount of oxygen because of partial combustion that already happened before. And reliability is the main concern about this because this system involves very complex components such as EGR valve. It may sound so simple, and and it feels like, okay, what complexity can this EGR system can possess with, but trust me, that's a very complex system. The next slide will show some more the real diagram of how EGR will look like. Then we can understand how the reliability became the concern over here. This we can see that this is the EGR cooler. So these are the deposits. this deposit will reduce the heat exchanging efficiency of the EGR cooler. That is a major concern here. And there are some control strategy how to control the EGR by open loop and closed loop system. Basically, it's the feedback and without feedback mechanism. So continuous receiving the feedback from the engine and its performance, it will try to regulate it according to the feedback what it received means it's a closed loop system. And without any feedback or the corrections value, if it's operate, that we call this as open loop system of EGR. So the complexity is more rising here. So we have ECU, engine control unit. So it receives some data from the EGR valve position, and it will, according to the parameters what ECU is getting, it can change the valve position, and according to the manifold intake and exhaust manifold, it is input for ECU, and it is controlling EGR valve, and that controlling the venturi, and again it's going back to intake manifold, and there are complex system. So here we can understand how the reliability became the concern in the past. So we can integrate this EGR system in many pre-existing systems like engine management system and other emission control technologies. It will easily incorporate it with some already pre-existing system to control the emissions, and it can also integrate directly to the engine, and it can communicate or facilitate the continuous monitoring and feedback from the engine itself. This is the typical system, how it looks inside the car, and it's not even fully explained, but this is how end of the day the EGR system looks like. It's somewhat quite complex than the previous slides what I've shown in this video. Thanks for sparing your time, my friends. I know this was somewhat boring and it was a very relatively new concept, but I wish to you people to search more about this particular system and how to improve its efficiency and the reliability will be somewhat useful for our future generation and concern about the sustainability. Thanks for watching. Bye.